overview of audit and how audit happens. To study how audit happens, first we need to understand what is audit. So, audit is independent examination of financial information of any entity, whether it is profit oriented or not, irrespective of size or its legal structure, with a view to express an opinion. So, this we learned before, that audit is independent examination. And what is independent? We learned this in chapter 1 SQC1. What is financial information? Financial information refers to general purpose financial statement. General purpose financial statement consists of balance sheet, P&L, notes to accounts, statement of cash flow statement, statement of changes in equity, and notes to account for consist of corporate information, significant accounting policies, and other notes. So we learned this in our first chapter: what is audit, what is independence, financial information, and so after examining the after doing independent examination of financial statement, we give opinion on financial statement. So what are our objective? Our overall objective of independent audit is to obtain reasonable assurance. So we learn what is reasonable assurance. To obtain reasonable assurance about whether financial statement are free from material misstatement and prepared as per applicable FRF before expressing the opinion, and to report on financial statement and communicate as per SA. So our overall objective of independent audit was to give opinion, but before giving opinion we need to have reasonable assurance that financial statement are not free from material mistake. Then report on financial statement that financial statement are true and fair or qualified, depend on the situation, and then communicate the report as per standards on auditing. So this is our so we understood what is audit and what is objective of audit in first lesson. This was one quick revision. We also learned difference between absolute assurance, reasonable assurance, what is material misstatement, what is material and what is misstatement. We learn all this. So what is sufficient and appropriate audit evidence? I think we didn't learn what is sufficient and appropriate audit evidence and what is audit risk. We'll learn this in chapter 4. And we in chapter 1 we saw the meaning, objective, scope, aspects of audit, advantage of audit, limitation of audit, types of audit, ethical requirement for auditing, quality control, and relationship of audit with other disciplines. So what is audit is we can understand what is audit from chapter 1. Of chapter 1 I have made 5 lecture of maximum 30 minutes, in fact less than 30 minutes, so you can refer that to understand what is audit. So today we are understanding how audit happens. So but before it we should understand what is audit. So if you haven't seen that lecture, first refer that. I'll refer the link in the bio, in description. So let's see how audit happens. First, before doing audit, first you should make a good firm with eligible partners and eligible engagement team members. We'll learn who are eligibility test for the partner and the member in company audit, laws related to company audit. That will be our maybe 5th or 6th lesson, let me confirm, let it be, it will come ahead. So in that we'll understand all the laws and regulation related to audit under company act. So who are eligible, are you eligible to do audit, eligibility for engagement team member. And in essay 220, there is a element of system of quality control. Element of system of quality control describes how a good audit firm should be. Audit firm should have should comply with ethical requirement, or auditor partner should have engage leadership responsibility. All this we learned in chapter 1. Point was by elements of system of quality control. For reference, it was on page 31 in chapter 1, maybe lecture 3. Then after making a good audit firm, then client will come to us and request us to perform the audit. Then we will do preliminary engagement activities. That is, we will check background of the client as per SQC1 and SA 220. After doing background check means integrity of the management, etc, etc. We learned this in lesson 1 on page 32, essay 220, SQC1. First we will do background check of the client. Next we will check the precondition for the audit required as per essay 210. Essay 210 says, gives the list that this all are the preconditions for before accepting the audit. We should check all these preconditions. We also learned this in chapter 1, just revising what all topics we have learned and giving you flow how it happens. In essay 210 it was there. So first we should make a good firm. What is requirement for good firm is given in law for company audit and elements of system of quality control in essay 220. Then client will come to us. Then we will do preliminary engagement activity of that client. That is, first we will check the background of the client. We will check the precondition of the audit, and then after checking all this thing, if we are satisfied with the precondition and with the background check of the client, then we will send audit engagement letter as per essay 210 to the client. After that audit will start. First we will do planning of audit as per essay 300. Essay 300 require us to acquire knowledge of client's business. So let's see what do it mean by acquiring knowledge of client's business. What all things we should know. So we should understand the entity and the environment of the client's business. It is one of the important principle of developing overall audit plan. So first stage of audit is preliminary engagement activity. In preliminary engagement activity, we need to check these three things: background of the client as per SR 220, precondition for the audit, and send engagement letter as per 210. After doing preliminary engagement activities, second step is to start planning the audit. In planning the audit, first step is acquiring knowledge of client's business. to it and acquiring knowledge of client's business is one of the important principle of developing overall audit plan. In fact, without adequate knowledge of client's business, a proper audit is not possible. As per SA 315, that is identifying and assessing risk of material misstatement, the auditor should obtain understanding of the following things. So to obtain knowledge of client's business, we should we should understand the relevant industry, the and entity's objective and the strategy. First we should understand, take overview of the client. We should understand the relevant industry and entity and its entity's objective and strategy. Then we should understand more deep. We should understand business. To understand business, we should understand the business risk that may result into risk of material misstatement, the nature of entity including its operation, its ownership and governance structure, type of investment entities make and planning to make, including special purpose investment. We should understand all this thing and the structure of the entity, size of the entity, because size matters, we know. And to understand this all business, we should also check the accounts, applicable FRF. What is the applicable FRF? Evaluate whether the accounting policies are consistent and appropriate. And next, how it is finance. Finance is very important, so we should check how it is finance. Measure and review of entities financial performance. Should measure and review the entity's financial information. So I've put all these points in logical order, so it become easy to understand. I mean, understand and learn. So first, to take overview, what we should understand about the business, what relevant industry, and its objective and strategy. To take overview, we should understand these two things: relevant industry and objective and strategy. Then to get deeper understanding of the business, we should understand the business and business risk that may result into risk of material misstatement. Then we should also understand the nature of the entity. Nature, what does nature of the entity includes? It includes its operation, its ownership and governance structure, type of investment entity makes and planning to make, including special purpose investment. So मैं जो ये पॉइंट्स है ऐसे वे ऑर्डर में लिखा है कि ऊपर के पॉइंट से हम नेक्स्ट पॉइंट का स्टार्टिंग कीवर्ड पिकअप कर सकते. तो ऊपर के पॉइंट में था इट एंड इट्स ओनरशिप एंड गवर्नेंस स्ट्रक्चर. तो स्ट्रक्चर उठा के नेक्स्ट पॉइंट बन जाता है स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ द एंटिटी एंड साइज ऑफ द एंटिटी. स्ट्रक्चर एंड साइज. तो ये हो गया हमारा सेकेंड ग्रुप. वो था अंडरस्टैंडिंग द बिजनेस इन डेप्थ. To understand and business in depth, we need to check accounts. So accounts, what is related to account? FRF. The first word what come in our mind after looking at account is FRF, financial reporting framework. So applicable FRF, what is its applicable FRF, and evaluate whether and related to FRF accounting policies and whether it is consistent or consistent and appropriate. So FRF से क्या दिमाग में आता है? Accounting policy and consistency and appropriateness. So seventh point is applicable FRF. Related to FRF, evaluate whether the entity have accounting policies which are consistent and appropriate. And after having a look on accounting process of the entity, Last but the most important is how it is finance. So last is how it is finance and measure and review of entities financial performance. So these are key important things which we should understand to understand the client's business, to acquire knowledge of the client's business. Let's have one quick revision: understanding the entity and its environment, knowledge of client's business. It is one of the important principle in developing overall audit plan. In fact, without adequate knowledge of client's business, audit is not possible. Proper audit is not possible. As per SA 315, identifying and assessing risk of material misstatement through understanding the entity and its environment, the auditor should obtain understanding of the following things. Number one, relevant industry. Second, entity's objective and strategy. Next, business risk that may result into risk of material misstatement. Next, nature of the entity including its operation, its ownership and governance structure, type of investment entity makes and is planning to make, including special purpose investment. Next, structure of the entity and the size of the entity. Next is applicable FRF and evaluate whether the accounting policies are consistent and appropriate. Next is how it is finance and measure and review of entities financial performance. Easy. Now let's see from where to obtain information of client's business. What are the sources to obtaining knowledge of client's business? The major sources for obtaining information of client business is annual report circulated among the shareholders. So from last year's annual report we can obtain the information of client's business very easily. In fact, shareholders obtain information from here. We are auditor, why won't we obtain from there? So first is audit report circulated among the shareholder. Next, minutes of the meeting of shareholder, director and their and committees like audit committee, etc. Next is minutes of meeting of shareholder, director and their committees. Next is internal report over financial aspect for current and previous period including budgets. There are some internal reports for financial aspects for current period is also available and for previous period are also available. It also includes budget. So third point is internal report over financial aspect for current and previous period including budget. Fourth, we can obtain information about client from working paper of previous year audit. We can borrow working paper of previous year audit from any other auditor, or if we have done audit, so it is very easy to obtain information from previous year audit working papers. Next is policy and procedure manual of the client. Big companies have a policy and procedure manual, so from there we can obtain information. Discussion with the client, we can do inquiry observation from, and from there we can obtain nice information. Publication of ICI and professional body industry publication, trade journals, newspaper. From all these sources we can obtain information. Publication of ICI or other bodies, industry publication, like for aviation industry every year they publish magazines, trade journals. In newspaper we also get lot of information from any sources. Best source is internet. From all these sources we can obtain information of the client. We can also visit the client's premises, and through understanding consideration of state of economy and its effect on clients business, like now auto sector is in low cycle of business circle, economy is not supporting it, so we can consider general state of economy and its effect on client's business. So this is like from general knowledge we can write this answer: sources to obtain knowledge of client's business. Let's have one quick read of it. Major source of obtaining information about client's business: annual report circulated among the shareholders, minutes of the meeting of shareholder, director and their committees, internal report over financial aspect for current and previous period including budgets, working paper for from previous audit, policies and procedure manual of client, discussion with client, publication of ICAI and other professional bodies, industry publication, journal, trade journal, newspaper, etc., visit to premises of the client, consideration of general state of economy and its effect on client's business. Move ahead. Next step. First, we obtain knowledge of client's business. In second, we make overall audit strategy. So what is overall audit strategy? We learned this in our second chapter. For just a revision, overall audit strategy consider the result of preliminary engagement activities, that is obtaining knowledge of client's business, that is understanding the entity and its environment. It consider the result of preliminary engagement activities is what we do before planning and understanding the entity and the environment, and set the scope, timing and direction for the development of detailed audit program. It considered the result of preliminary engagement activity and set scope, timing and direction and guide towards development of more detailed audit plan. So how will it set the scope? It identify the characteristic of the engagement that design its scope. So in overall audit strategy we identify the characteristic of the engagement. For example, what is coverage of the audit or number of the location. So like this it identify the characteristic of the engagement that decides the its scope. Then it ascertain objective of reporting, that is asserting reporting objective and nature of communication require. So with this thing it sets the scope by identifying the characteristic of the engagement that defines scope, asserting reporting objective and nature of communication nature of communication required, sets helps auditor to setting audit scope. Then it ascertain quality, quantity, timing, management of resources, like what quantity of resources should be used in this engagement, what quality of engagement staff is required. All this is decided in overall audit strategy. It ascertain nature, timing and extent of resources necessary for performing the audit and asserting the timing of the audit. So in overall audit strategy we set audit scope by identifying the characteristic of the engagement, reporting objective and nature of the communication. We also set the timing of the audit by asserting the nature, timing and extent of the performance of audit and asserting the timing of the audit. And overall audit strategy also directs the auditor and guides to development of more detailed audit plan. So overall audit strategy consider factor that in auditor's professional judgment are significant in directing engagement team. It consider the factor that in auditor's professional judgment are significant in directing engagement team member. So overall audit strategy consider factor that in auditor's professional judgment are significant for direction of engagement team member. So this is overall audit strategy. For in overall audit strategy there are three questions, like what is overall audit strategy, establishment of overall audit strategy. Like this there are only three questions related to this. You can watch my full lecture, chapter number 2, lecture 1, for overall audit strategy. After making overall audit strategy, which helps in directing and guiding towards making detailed audit plan, we finally make detailed audit plan. Detailed audit plan determines nature, timing and extent of risk assessment procedure, which we are going to learn in essay 315. Then deciding after after we get risk assessment procedure and we identified the risk of material misstatement, next we apply audit procedure to comply with standards on auditing and further audit procedure in response of determined risk of material misstatement. So audit plan helps in determining nature, timing and extent of risk assessment procedure also, other audit procedure also and further audit procedure also. So it determines time of all this thing. So it is detailed thing which determine nature, timing and extent of risk assessment procedure. In risk assessment procedure we identify and assess risk of material misstatement by understanding entity and its environment including internal control. Then after that, to response to that risk, we apply further audit procedure and other audit procedure to comply with standard on auditing. So this is summary of audit plan. After audit plan we make audit program. Audit plan and audit strategy is for audit strategy is for overall audit plan we need to make for each account, like each account as well as on overall level to. And audit program is for each item of financial statement. Like for revenue there is a different audit program. For every item of financial statement there is different audit program is a list of verification program to be applied, and it include all steps to all step for identifying, assessing further audit procedure. It consists of all these steps. Like for example, small example, for cash, it is there is written in audit program, go and check cash count, observe the cash counting. For inventory there is written, do this, then this, then this, check the invoices, then check the stock taking, relate it with sales. Everything is written in audit program. It guides the auditor and assistant in performing the audit. So it is list of verification procedure to be applied. So audit program is separate for each item of financial statement. Then after we have audit program, what we need to do is apply that audit program and perform the audit. Why do we perform audit? We perform audit to get sufficient and appropriate audit evidence so that we can give our opinion with very low level of risk. So, what is this risk? We are talking here about audit risk. What is audit risk?